You learned somewhere along the way that loving someone meant giving them everything, disappearing into them, that your needs came last. If you just loved a little harder or did a little more, then things would be okay. Where did you learn that keeping the peace was your job? Welcome to the Crazy Ex-Wives Club, a podcast dedicated to helping women navigate the emotional journey that is divorce. I'm your host, Erica, and if you're trying to figure out life after the big D, welcome to the club. Whether you're contemplating divorce or dealing with the aftermath or any of the many phases in between, the club has got you covered. Each week, you'll hear stories from women who have been in your shoes. This isn't about spilling tea on divorce details. This is about giving you the tools to take control of your own healing journey. Listen in weekly for advice, tips, and tools to help you move through each stage of the process. Welcome back to another episode of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club. I'm your host, Erica, and today we are talking about codependency and finding yourself. So my person is traveling for 10 days, and I committed to using this time to return to myself. Things had been a little stressed. They had been a little too busy. I had been too crabby. Like I was always feeling burnt out, like I never had enough time. I was shorter than I wanted to be. So I knew that I had this gift of 10 days and I wanted to use it to recharge. And I've been having some real observations that I thought would be perfect for us to chat about this week, because it is not that all of the pieces are figured out, but a really good aha has been unlocked along the way. And that is life, right? One step forward, one choice, one observation, showing up and choosing to doing the work. So today we're talking about codependency, what it actually is, what it feels like in your body, and what it looks like when you start to heal it. Because full confession, when that regular, old, safe, stable relationship shows up, it can throw your system for a loop. When my other half left, I was excited for the time. I wanted to have uninterrupted sleep. I wanted to get to bed at a decent hour. I wanted to dive deep into my work, into my creation. It's really hard to create when you're constantly tired and you are constantly exhausted and just trying to get the shit done. So I was looking forward to the trip, and I also expected to feel sadness, to feel a little anxious, to feel what I would say is a general feeling of being in pain. I am pained that we are not together. It's almost like that low hum of dread that something is wrong. Something is not how it is supposed to be. I thought I'd have a lot of feelings of missing out. I chose not to go on the trip. I was invited. I said, no, I'm good. I'm going to stay home and be quiet and be one with myself. So when he left, and I spent some time alone, I was a little bit shocked, because what I felt was actually being deeply and genuinely calm. I was almost instantly at peace. My nervous system did not enjoy that revelation, though, and my nervous system wanted to flag it as a problem. So I slowed down, I checked in with my body, and what I found underneath the calm was something I didn't expect either. Deep feelings of love, of peace for the life that we've built, of excitement for him getting to do something that he loves. There was zero urgency to be anywhere other than exactly where I was. Gone was the pushing that I had to figure out a different house. I loved the space as I got to lay there and do absolutely nothing on Saturday other than the things I wanted to do. I found that it felt really comfortable to be where I was at, and I didn't have the push that I was feeling almost every single day when my other half was there. So I got curious, because I've not always felt this way. This has not always been second nature, and understanding the difference between then and now, that's what we're going to look at today. So in the past, I've always been a little codependent. I say little loosely. I'm sure I was wildly codependent, but being away from my person always felt destabilizing. Once I had a person, whether it was my then husband or my person now, there just was this desperate desire to always be close, right? It'd be more fun. It'd be perfect. Oh my gosh, I want to spend all my free minutes with you. And I would kind of push aside any of the other things that I needed to do. When he's here, I want all the time together. I abandon the things that I used to do. I used to have a lot more time on my hands. I used to spend 6 hours a week in the gym. I used to do yoga at night. I used to do more quiet, reflecting, journaling, rituals. And the moment I moved into a partnership, I started abandoning those things. Why? Because it was more fun to go out and have dinner together. It was more peaceful or felt better in my system to snuggle up on the couch and watch a show. It felt better to stay snuggled up on the couch than it was to go to bed at a decent hour, even when I knew that that was one of my things. Now, what I'm most grateful for in the difference between my marriage and this relationship is my current partner does not put pressure on me to have to be there. There definitely was a sense of guilt in the marriage if I chose to go out with coworkers, if I traveled for work, if I was not home. There was almost a backlash that was happening, and it was soft. It was quiet. It wasn't angry. It wasn't a big fight. It just was a little bit of silent treatment for a few days, or we didn't quite line up right away. The current partner doesn't do any of that pressure. In fact, half the time he's telling me to get up off the couch, to go to bed and do the things that he knows I need to do for my best self. So when the pressure is not coming from your partner that this is a thing that has to be in our relationship, why then do I continue to create it? Why do I continue to make that choice? I had been telling myself that because my love language was quality time, being together meant love. Being together, choosing to be together, meant that we were choosing to show each other how much we loved each other. But as I sit in that this weekend, I'm realizing how I had still been grasping at a very codependent approach, because I was looking at how do we spend all the time together to prove that this is right versus how do we spend the quality time together so that we have the things in our life that help us be our best person so that we can come together as individual best people to create something even more. And the irony is that the more I leaned into spending more and more and more time together because I was feeling like something was lacking. I was feeling like I wanted to be loved in a different method. I was feeling like the relationship wasn't always meeting my needs, but I was giving everything to try and help it get there. I was becoming more and more frustrated. So the more time I actually got, the crabbier I became because it was missing the mark. And it wasn't missing the mark because the relationship was wrong. It was missing the mark because I was becoming reliant and too codependent again, instead of looking at the ways that I truly need to take care of myself. So full confession, I was putting up those hoops that I call out all the time in other relationships, the ones where we think if we just spend more time together, right? That's my hoop. Let's spend more time together and then I will feel loved. But then we're spending more time together and the next hoop shows up and says, but I wanted you to do this a little different. I wanted you to rub my back instead of just sitting next to me. And then we put up the next hoop and well, but I really wanted to go out to dinner and have a cocktail. And then I wanted to do this and wanted to do that. It is the female prerogative to have desires that are constantly evolving, shifting, and changing. And that is why it is so crucial that you find the way to connect and know yourself so that we're not putting it on somebody else. Now, we can also bring up the fact that there was the affair in my marriage, that for 2 years while we were separated, he continued to see the other woman while telling me he didn't understand why he didn't want to work on it. You know, before I knew about the affair, we were both celebrating anniversaries. I was celebrating wedding anniversaries. They were celebrating dating anniversaries. And what I want to name today is what that intensified in my nervous system. It didn't create it. It was already there, but it enhanced a story that if I'm not there, my partner might be tempted. If I'm not there, my partner will find somebody else. And if I'm not there, loving all the things that he does all the time, my person will leave because we don't have the things in common anymore. And those stories existed long before the affair, but the affair made them real. The affair handed me concrete proof that my worst fears were possible. That the fact that I didn't have the energy to be going out to the bars as often as he wanted to meant that he found somebody else who did. The fact that if I wasn't being fun and the life of the party and having endless energy, he would find somebody else because he did. And so I brought those fears with me into this relationship. Now, I had done a ton of work in between. I had come to peace with why that chapter had a close. I owned the pieces that I added to the puzzle of destruction, the places I didn't show up the way that I wanted to. I had done tons of work. So when I had first met my current partner, I was shocked when it brought up more work to be done. But a relationship is always a mirror. It is always a space that helps us lovingly see where we have room to grow and evolve. And I am so grateful to know that in this relationship, the lesson that I have learned is that performance is not love, that I don't have to be always on or always what my other person needs. I have to be taking care of me so that I can be fully me, because the person that my partner loves is the wild and crazy Erica who's fully her when she can be. There's also another piece that is really important to me that I get clear about. I'm not sharing this story to say, oh, I picked the right man. I picked the right man and everything magically got easy. I absolutely hate watching those relationship after divorce reels that people put out. Oh, find the right man, wait for the right man. Somebody will love you the right way. I'm not saying that I picked the man and it instantly was easy. Our relationship is hard. It is complex. We have 3 special needs kids. We have blended family chaos. We both restarted careers, starting over on a career ladder at the same time. But what I chose was to do the work. I chose to say he can't control the conditions of his life. Can I choose to love and work with him to see what we can figure out? And the beautiful part is that I found a man who's willing to meet me in the chaos. I'm not perfect. I'm not always on, but I am committed to looking at my contribution when things get off track. And that's not luck. It's 2 people deciding to keep showing up. And the proof that it's working, well, that old nervous system reactions, they're not firing anymore. In fact, he and I were just talking before he went on this trip. I told him how much I was actually looking forward to it because I haven't been feeling those low levels of anxiety. They used to be a level 10. 1 out of 10, they were a 10 if he was traveling. That first year we met, he had a few sports trips, a few friend trips. Instantly, my system was on red alert that this was about to end. And so my nervous system doesn't fire like that anymore, but I would say we get to like a 3 or a 4. There are moments, blips that show up. He says something, I do something, somebody else says something, and it activates something old. And I was sharing how excited I was because I haven't been having those feelings. I've really been very at peace and trusting. Now, if he chooses to make a mistake, I know the choice I'm going to make. There is not a will it be forgiven. It is, this is who I am and what I deserve. And that confidence in knowing what I deserve comes from doing the work. Because those false flags are not being raised, things I thought that were still needing a little bit of work, I'm just noticing their absence now. And it is a beautiful, peaceful thing. And that's not nothing. That is the goal. That is everything. The funny part is now that they're not firing, that protective system, that nervous system wants to show up again and say, wait, then maybe this is wrong. If you don't have all those feelings, all those butterflies, all those angst that you used to have, do you not really love this person? And that's what I got to sit and ponder and reflect on. And that's what we're going to dig apart tonight. So let's talk about what codependency actually is, because I want you to be able to recognize it in yourself. As I shared, I had chalked it up as I'm a quality time love language. I just want to spend all my free time with you. I am happy to go run errands together. That sounds delightful. Let's do that. So first I want to give you more of the, clinical parts, short, clear. Then we're going to get into the woo and what it actually feels like in your body, because it is one thing to logically understand what is happening. It is a second thing to feel what is happening and be able to guide yourself out of it. So codependency is a pattern where your emotional well-being becomes dependent on another person's behaviors, their mood, or even just their physical presence. And it usually develops in a relationship where love felt conditional, or it might have felt unpredictable. It might have felt unsafe. You learned that managing the other person was how you stayed loved. If I can morph into the thing that this other person wants, they won't leave me. If I can give enough, if I can do enough, they won't leave me. And it's not a character flaw, it's a survival strategy that worked once and now it runs the show without your permission. Now, this showed up long before actual romantic relationships. You can see this trend in my life if I look at some of my friendships. How much can I give so that I'm always chosen? And I can see the roots of where this started. Damn bitchy girls in 7th grade. Being cut out of the social circles, having people, young girls, choose to pick on somebody or ostracize somebody just because. And it's so dysregulating that it can stay with you far longer than you even expect. So there are 4 ways we can show up in a relationship, and I want you to know all of them so that you can find yourself here. Now remember, we are all a work in progress, right? We are all constantly changing, evolving, and becoming more of who we are here to become. So codependent. Codependent means I lose myself in you. Your mood is my mood. Your needs come before mine every time. I don't know where you end and I begin. This is the, are you okay? You seem mad with me. Did I do something wrong? You seem short. Their mood dictates how safe it feels for you to be happy. Independent. I don't need you. I can do this alone. I keep people at arm's length because needing someone feels dangerous. Independent women, I was her for a while too. I can get it all done. I can do all of it. I don't need help. Look at how much I accomplish every single day. I feel so productive. I feel so good at getting things done. Hyper independent. I won't let myself need you. F you. I will never rely on somebody else again. This one's usually trauma-based. This one is showing up because somebody or multiple people hurt you badly. Hyper independence for me showed up because every time I trusted and I fully trusted, people let me down because I didn't know how to trust in phases, right? Oh, you're here, you're in. I'm going to give you access to all of my deepest, darkest information, heart hurting knowledge. And then they did something that I didn't like with it. It looks like strength from the outside, but it is actually a protective wall. It is one of what I consider to be the weaker sides because it is very hard to ask for help in this one. You look very strong. People probably tell you how impressed they are with how you get everything done. You'll do everything yourself before you ask for help. I mean, you guys, I was trying to get a washer and dryer down from a second story by myself because I didn't want to ask anybody for help. Because being vulnerable means getting hurt. And every time you have been vulnerable, every time you've trusted on somebody else, every time you've relied on somebody else, they've let you down. And so hyper independent individuals build strong walls around their heart because they don't want to let anybody else in. Nobody else gets a right or access to be able to hurt them again. And then we have the last one, which is the goal, interdependent. I am whole. You are whole. I can stand alone and I can choose to stand with you. This is that path where we walk next to each other. We don't morph into one being. It's not me plus you equals one. It is we are whole on our own and we are choosing to walk this path together. I can need you without being consumed by you. I can miss you without it destabilizing me. That's the calm I felt this week, and that's interdependence. That's what we're all working towards. It just feels really freaking weird the first time it shows up after having some rather unhealthy codependent relationships. What does it actually feel like? Okay. Here's what codependency actually feels like from the inside because the clinical definition doesn't quite capture it. You know, we can read those four. You can tell me where you think you land on it. We know that we want to get to a place of interdependence, but what does it feel like when you're actually operating from a level of codependency? So for me, because I am more anxiously attached, it feels like a low hum of unease when my person is out of reach. It feels like a need to constantly be checking in to making sure there's some sort of connection or touch point. It feels like scanning the room for their mood before I check in with my own. When he gets home from work, what kind of a mood is he in? If he's very quiet that night instead of his normal social self, I take it personally. What did I do? Did I say something? Why is he mad? It feels like shrinking yourself to keep the peace or performing as a version of yourself to keep them interested. I can like this sport. I can like this activity. I can keep going on 5 hours of sleep a night. I can be fun. I can be all the things, even when inside, maybe you need something else. And then it feels like relief when they come home that is just slightly too big for the situation. Right? Like, a person is here. Okay, good. Everything can be okay now. It feels like your nervous system is outsourcing its regulation to another human being. It's trying to anchor itself to them instead of anchoring itself to you. And here's what healing feels like. At first, it's going to feel suspicious. The calm feels wrong. The absence of that angst or that anxiety feels like indifference. Your brain will tell you something must be broken if you are not hurting. My brain started running with, maybe this isn't right. Do you love him? Is this the person you want to be with? Did you make the wrong choice again? If it's the right person, how come you don't feel more that they are not here? That's just an old story running. And the solution to get through it? You got to get curious instead of believing it. So how do you actually start the work? Because this is what I spent Friday and Saturday doing. It's Sunday while I'm recording this for you guys. First, I had to quiet my mind and my body, which meant that I didn't leap to any judgments. I said, this feels weird, but why does it have to feel different? Because they're not here. I made sure that I had my quiet time. I didn't overcommit to myself. If I felt like going out and meeting up with friends, I did. If I felt like staying home and laying on the couch for 90 minutes while I listened to a speaker that I love on YouTube, I did. So I got quiet. I regulated my nervous system by not stressing it out, by not making more on the to-do list, so that it could fall into a pattern of feeling safe, and it could fall into a pattern of being able to observe what was going on around me. When your nervous system is activated, right, it starts to shift back to that reptilian brain, that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. And I needed to get really crystal clear on my actual thoughts. I needed to dig deep into my heart and to reflect and to ponder. So once I got quiet, then I started to let that thought or feeling show up without immediately reacting to it. So it started looking a little bit like, I don't feel angst because he's not here. That's odd. And I let it surface. And then I started to ask why. And I said, well, why is that odd? What are you feeling right now? You're not feeling angst. What are you feeling right now? I said, I felt calm. I felt at peace. I loved our little house. I loved the dogs chewing rawhides on the floor. I loved the freedom to do what I wanted. That kind of led me into reflecting. I love the fact that he is back in Ireland. They've got World Games this upcoming week. They've got a big tournament for 5 days. I love that he got to go do that. I love that he loves doing it. I was so happy for him. So pretty quickly, I came to the realization that it wasn't the lack of love. I still felt a lot of love about everything that was going on. I just didn't have the angst that my person wasn't here in the space with me. So then I asked, why? Why does this person need to be here in this space? Not what am I feeling? Why am I feeling? I just said, where did this belief come from? Where did this story come from? That for it to be the right person, you have to be together all the time. And then I laid there on the couch and I let my mind do the sifting and sorting through what's real and what's a pattern, what's an old belief that doesn't actually support me and where I'm going. When I looked at that belief of to truly love somebody means you feel angst when they're not there, I said, well, that sounds unhealthy. That sounds like some very unhealed codependency. When I got to the part where I said, God, I'm so excited for him. And I love that I didn't go because I would have been stressed and that would not have filled my cup up that trip. Even though I miss him, even though I wish I had gone, I really don't wish I had gone because that's not the type of trip I wanted to be on. Okay, so then there was still love there, but there wasn't a missing. And this is when we can actually get to the work because now at this point, my body, my nervous system is relaxed and my mind is sifting and sorting and sifting and sorting. And it's challenging. It's finding the story that says, this is interesting. And that definitely does not lead me towards where I want to go. Where did this come from? Why does my system want to create this belief? I got curious about why I had written a story that love must hurt when your person leaves. And it'd be very easy to blame the affair. It'd be very easy to say, because I had distrust in my marriage, it means that it is very hard for me to ever trust somebody again. But the truth is the pattern existed long before. The affair just gave it evidence. And I think the biggest piece is, yes, so somebody lied to me and somebody cheated and somebody literally had a date on the couch that I paid for in the mortgage that I was covering while I was on a work trip to earn the money that we were living off of. It would be real easy to say I'm never going to trust letting my partner out of my sight again. That would also be allowing the emotions and the affair and my ex to still interfere with the happiness that I want to have in my life. So yes, the affair happened. Yes, the trust was broken. Yes, I became hyper independent for a while. While I learned to take care of myself, and while I learned how to fix what broke so that it no longer owned my ass, because I can guarantee that if you were still showing up to every relationship saying, do not ever do any of the things that my ex did to me again, it'd be really hard for anybody to be able to meet you in the space of that relationship. My current partner likes to go out and socialize more than I do. Guess what? So did my ex-husband. That was something I had to work through. Could I trust while he was out? Could I trust that what he's saying is the truth? Could I differentiate between what was an old wound from the affair to who my current partner is and what his needs are that are different from mine? Because trust me, I went out and I spent a lot of time sitting on that bar stool being with him in that codependent safety net. And all it did was leave me really exhausted and not very happy and not my best self. Definitely not the woman that he had fallen in love with. So I had to make a choice, and I chose to stay home, and I chose to work on that anxiety. I chose not to let the affair own my ass anymore. And it's not a one-time practice. I have spent years in this relationship. I have spent 4.5 years challenging that anxiety around being lied to, around trusting that if this person, my current person, if he lied or if he cheated, am I strong enough to leave, or would I make more excuses? I've done the work to say, this is old shit, and I refuse to allow it to still show up today. So here's what I want you to sit with. Did you lose yourself in your marriage? And not because you were weak, but because you learned somewhere along the way that loving someone meant giving them everything, disappearing into them, that your needs came last. If you just loved a little harder or did a little more, then things would be okay. Where did you learn that keeping the peace was your job? Most of the women I talk to answer yes to that question. And divorce, as brutal as it is, hands you something back. It hands you yourself. And the question is whether you recognize her when she shows up, because she is going to show up as calm when you expect chaos. She's going to show up as peace when you expect pain. And your first instinct will be to distrust her. Don't. Get curious. Ask why. Sift and sort. Let the real things rise. We need to be able to return to our body, to challenge the thoughts, the smoke and mirror that our mind wants to create. So if you're sitting out there and you're like, yep, Erica, I too am codependent, or maybe you're sitting in the space where you've moved through independence and you've gotten into hyper independence, that's fine. Awareness is the first step. You're human. You learned what you needed to learn to survive. And now you get the opportunity to start making tiny shifts. I did not get to a space of being at peace with the fact that he's in Ireland for 10 days, playing sports, hanging out, sleeping in a hotel, and out at the pubs. I did not get to a place of peace with it overnight. I got to a place of peace with it because I challenged where I had lost trust in other people. I challenged where I built walls of hyper independence instead of allowing somebody in. I learned to trust myself, that if somebody who I let in the inner circle hurt me, I would have the strength to choose how I wanted to move forward. So the goal is not independence. It's not hyper independence. Those are very lonely, lonely places to be. They feel fine. God, the road is much smoother in an independence or hyper independence world. I mean, when I was locked in my own little townhouse with nothing else to do, I could just do what I needed to do and go to the gym when I wanted to go and feed myself whatever I wanted to feed. And because nobody else was there was no disappointment. There was no pain. There was no hurt because I hadn't let anybody in. The goal is interdependence. Two whole people choosing each other. And it's a state of constant flow. There are times when you rely on your people more, and there are times when you need to go find yourself again. It's important to be able to allow yourself time to have both. So if you're not there yet, that's okay. Work in progress. As I'm sharing my story, there's some really big pieces that I have let go. And it's so funny that you let go of the angst, the anxiety, and what floods in instead is, whoa, this is new, this is different. Are you sure this is right? But I'm doing the work in real time right alongside you because this is life. Something shows up. We have to evaluate it. Does it feel weird? Does it feel good? Do we like it? Do we not like it? What do we want to do about it? And why? Why is our mind trying to tell us a story that we are not okay? What matters is that you're starting to recognize the difference between that grasping and choosing. What matters as you start to date is that you can rely on the signals your body is giving you. What matters as you are on this healing journey is that you stay curious about why you do what you do. Where is the woo? Where is the do? And where is the work that we need to set you free? Awareness is everything. There is still so much to figure out. But when we start with awareness, when we start with curiosity, when we spend some time pondering, this is interesting. I wonder why I am wired to do things this way. So if you want a monthly container to do this kind of inner work, to get quiet, to sift and sort, to return to yourself on a rhythm that holds you, That's what the Wild Woman was built for. That's how it helped bring me back. Every month, we set those new intentions. What are you working on? What are you focused on? Life is a continual evolution. So I can sit in that space like I did this weekend with our new moon right around the corner. I can sit in that space and I can say, what do I want to call in? What do I want to continue to work on? And then when we get to that full moon, that's when we move it out. We clear out the angst, the stuff that's stuck in the body. And we're going to do it deep this month, as July is a huge month in terms of what's going on in the energies of the universe. If you want to join us again, the new moon is happening right now. Go ahead and send me an email or click on the link to learn more about the Wild Woman program. It is your monthly container, your monthly ritual. I can tell you that from the women who are in the room in less than 3 months have gone from looking at their biggest fear of how will they ever restart to being excited to see what's coming next. The work can be powerful and it can be fast, but you've got to choose to put yourself in the room, and I would love to see you there. Until next week, ponder a little bit and ask yourself, what exactly is my mind trying to tell me my stories and beliefs are? Give yourself grace. We'll be back with another great episode. And that's it. Another great episode of the Crazy Ex-Wives Club, a podcast for women learning how to heal from their divorce. Tune in next week for more advice and tips to help you figure out life after divorce. And until then, give yourself grace, do the best you can, and know that this is all part of the process.